Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Attraction is biology filtered by culture. And because we got to get into this because you got so many men especially, it's particularly men, who think, well, if you just look a certain way, you're going to get all the women. It don't work that way. It don't work that way because that's like on a pure level, that's pure attraction. That's pure biological genetic attraction. And I'm not even going to get into stuff like the imprint and all of that. But here's the thing. It's still filtered by culture. See, despite what some cultural chauvinists think, there's no universal look or anything like that. There's no universal thing. It's culture. And that's why in different cultures, different things are attractive. Indeed, I will put something into the description box, a video that talks about that standards of beauty are different, particularly for men, because you get men thinking, oh, well, I have to look like Chad, I have to look like Tyrone. And really, there's a cultural bias there because it's basically Chad, and then the Tyrones have to look like chocolate versions of Chad or Enrique or Chang or whatever. They always have to look like ethnic versions of Chad. That's cultural chauvinism. It's different because of different cultures. What they find as attractive is different. Is different, even the physicality, because the culture can affect that as well. Because when you're talking about culture, we're talking about class. We are talking about the religion. We are talking about the subculture, how people do stuff, you know, what they're going to consider attractive. For example, and I've used this example several times. If you put like a lot of guys use that whole Chad thing, but if you put them in a poor neighborhood looking the same way, they might not get the same amount of attention. But then someone in those poor neighborhoods who got kind of that more rough look, that is, you know, not looking like a fashion model, oh, they probably have a ton of women. That's because the culture there is more about survival of the fittest. You know, it's about looking a certain way. Or if you in a more upper class culture, it might be more about someone who looks competent, not necessarily like a fashion model, but how competent they look, you know. Or blue collar communities. Who's that guy? Like, you know, a few weeks ago, me and Cousin T-Tar discussed roughnecks. Those are mainly blue collar guys. Look like they can work to get their hands dirty or something like that. Okay, which man has that look? Or if you get like in some, you know, Spanish speaking cultures, like particularly like in Central America or something, you know, they like that guy. They don't necessarily they like that guy who looks like he's family orientated or something like that. See, it depends. That's why it's no universal thing. It depends on where you're located, where you at, your subculture and all of that. See, understand something, and women understand this better than men. Okay, yeah, they can look at somebody and say, oh yeah, he's physically, he's cute, he's attractive or something. But then they's like, okay, what about the relationship part? Because yeah, that biological thing, that's good for maybe having a baby, but what about hanging out someplace? Like, I'll use an example in the black community. Does that guy look like he can like come to the cookout, you know, play spades and all of that? Or does he look corny? Or does he look rough? Or in more upper class black communities, you know, does that woman look like, well, we'll keep it with the man. The women gonna be like, well, does he look like, you know, clean cut and stuff? Or if it's even a religious thing, because I was thinking about this. I remember there's a young black Muslim young lady in a mall near where I work, and like no makeup, she got her hair covered and all of that. She might look different from some young lady who, you know, she got the extensions, all of that, the eyebrows, you know, the eyelashes and all of that. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. Because one thing with different cultures, all have like a different idea of what they consider beautiful. See, it's very much a cultural thing. Shoot, even what people think of as, you know, the whole Chad and Tyrone thing, that's very much influenced by culture. That's very much influenced, because if you go to some other cultures, you know, the top men don't look anything like them. Like if you go to many African cultures, they don't look like them. Or you go to some Asian cultures, the top guys don't look like them. Or even like an ethnic version of that. And see, that's the thing to understand. Where are you located? See, too many guys think it's just one thing. It's like, no, where are you located? What's your region? Where are you at? What type of women are going to find you more attractive and stuff? When I talk about a tribe, part of that is cultural. See, the culture, here's the thing. We're talking about relationships. Relationships are more than just sexual. It's like, okay, what y'all going to talk about? Where y'all gonna hang out? What do you consider entertaining? How are you viewing the world politically? Politics, you know, political thing, that could be a thing. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between what maybe a liberal woman would consider physically attractive or a conservative woman would consider physically attractive. You know, that liberal woman, she might like all those tats and all of that and, you know, different style haircut. The conservative woman, she's gonna like something totally different. You know, she ain't gonna want all that wildness or anything. And, you know, she'll probably frown on seeing a tattoo. That's the thing. It's always culture. So it depends, like any man who's like trying to get with a woman, he needs to always consider his culture. If he's looking for his tribe. Even then, if you notice what I talk about, I stay extremely general. Because seriously, because it comes down to culture, and let's be real with it. Different races, different ethnic groups, they're gonna like approach stuff differently. There's still going to be a cultural thing in there. That's the most important thing. You know, like the biology, oh yeah, the biology, yeah, that's one thing, but then it's filtered through the culture. And that's very important to understand. See, I'm gonna tell you something now. A big problem, and I've said this continuously since I've been on here. A big problem is that there's not enough talk about the different cultural thing. Even in professional circles, when they talk about relationships, they act like everybody's on the same page. It's like, no. It's a very different. If you were to get some women who are from very poor environments. It could be the housing project, it could be the trailer park, it could be the favela, it could be the res or something. And you put them in a room full of some women from like upper middle class. They ain't gonna agree on, and show them just pictures of different men, they not gonna agree. Because even when people do these studies, they never really, they usually get all women from the same social class. Indeed, sometimes even the same race. So you gotta always take it with a grain of salt. They're talking about what they like in their particular group. But then if you really wanna have an idea, you gotta have people across the board, different religion, different races, different social classes, subcultures, everything. I mean, you have an increasing amount of women. They prefer a man who might be more into his feminine nature. You know, these are women like that. That's still a culture. That's still a culture, you know? And indeed, so they'll look for that guy. They might skip over that guy who look like, you know, he could get all the women and all of that supposedly, and go for that guy who look like, oh yeah, he'll be good cooking and taking care of the kids, being a house husband. So everything, subcultures, if you go into subcultures, it's totally different who a woman is going to find physically attractive. So all of this stuff is very important, all of this stuff. So the culture, yeah, the biology is there, but then you got all these cultural filters and everything that go over it. So that's important, all right? And it's important to take in consideration. There's nothing universal, nothing. Despite any thought that there is cultural chauvinism. So anyway, I want y'all to think about that. And I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.